Let's go to Rome now. We talked to the United Nations, Abdulreza Abbasian, about food. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
You look at food now, the media talking here about higher corn, higher wheat. Put in scale what the UN is doing right now. What is the UN's mission to assist poorer countries given these newly high food prices?
Well, prices are extremely high. Corn prices are as high as they were basically in October 1974. So this is as high as we have. And 1973-74 is known as the food crisis, probably the most important food crisis we've had. These are not easy times. Fortunately, we haven't had a crisis yet in spite of the high prices, but we have to prepare for a year that comes. Now, if the harvests are not big enough, we may have one. There are, UN FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, has long-term programs. These are basically assistance to countries, helping them with policy, with measures which actually prevent shocks to their food system when times like this happen. But there is also the World Food Program, which actually aims at helping the countries when there is when there is a need for more food. So they give actually food aid. There are a variety of UN programs with different targets and
right.
different, I would say, programs. Yes.
I want to focus on this chart, dreaded first chart, folks. And we've seen this many times before. It's inflation-adjusted food, the wonderful series that's put out by Mr. Abbasian's unit at the United Nations. The silent protest of high food prices. I would suggest, sir, that there's a lot of visible protest, but there's quantum more quiet protest as poor people around the world deal with these food prices. How do they deal with higher corn? Do they eat less, or do they substitute to something else?
Well, this is an important question. When we're talking about corn, obviously the substitution is not so big. I mean, a lot of the corn is gone actually for animal feed. Usually you have this problem with wheat and rice. Now, wheat prices are also high, but rice prices is not. It's about half as high as it was 2 years ago. So there is, on the consumption side, there is always a substitution, but to a certain level. The more important question is to ask is, which commodity you're going to produce more, and how you're going to do that. So, for example, if the corn market is right now very tight, which it is, and in the US, which is the biggest producer, we're going to produce more corn, are we going to do this at the expense of other crops, which obviously we have to? For example, we have to reduce the production of soybeans. And this is where the problem comes, and this is where you could have actually increase in the corn price, and that increase will spill over to the other commodities. This is really about resources, and how you're going to actually use those resources to the best.
You mentioned rice, and your colleague David Daw has been adamant that rice is actually in pretty good shape. Here's a chart, folks. We've shown it before, and the math here is a little squishy. This is inflation-adjusted rice, but it's sort of hard to get a handle on getting a good series on this. I call it, Mr. Abbasian, the critical staple food in rice. Is there a fear here that rice will move up and join corn and wheat higher, or is there a confidence that they will come down and meet rice in a more reasonable price?
I think if we were living in a world of one commodity, rice, my answer would be no, we are in a very comfortable situation. Unfortunately, we are not. What happened in 2007 and 8 was somewhat similar. The rice situation was not bad at all. Inventories were not bad. But what happened was that the rice-producing countries put export restrictions on their rice. They were fearing, domestic inflation, driven by wheat and other foodstuffs. So should that happen, rice market is a thin market, it's a small market, is enough for one or two exporting country to impose a restriction, and you could see rice prices basically twofold from one day to next. So there is always this danger. Fortunately, so far that has not happened. Right. We hope that the market could actually continue on this same line for at least the next few months.
With the United Nations in Rome, Abdulreza Abbasian, thank you so much.